Hey, what's up guys and gals? My name is Rick9G. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be looking at I Love Lucy. More specifically, we're going to be looking at a particular episode called LA at Last, and I'm going to tell you why I believe that this is possibly one of the best episodes, or even the best episode of I Love Lucy. I've asked and have heard many huge fans of the show, and everyone inevitably comes back to this episode, LA at Last. So let's take a look at it. I do want to remind you that I do have on rick9g.com really wonderful items that you can get. It's a great way to support the channel, and they are personalized from me to you, so hopefully you will enjoy those. LA at Last was an episode from season 4. It was the 114th episode of I Love Lucy and the 17th episode in season 4. Now, to give a quick synopsis of the episode, Lucy, Ricky, Fred, and Ethel are taking the trip to Los Angeles, California from New York. Ricky was cast as the lead role in a movie where he plays Don Juan. And so they arrive in Hollywood, and Lucy goes star hunting at the Brown Derby restaurant and finds William Holden and Eve Arden. She annoys Holden and is staring at him from behind a potted plant. The waiter trips over her foot, or she accidentally trips the waiter, whatever story you'd like to believe, and the pie goes flying into Bill Holden's face. Later, Bill Holden visits Lucy and Ricky at their Hollywood hotel room, and Lucy puts on a fake nose to disguise herself, of course, and the putty nose accidentally gets lit on fire, and they finish with Lucy kissing Bill Holden. The episode begins with an opening panning shot of Los Angeles. We see City Hall, and we see the Ricardos and Mertzes in the Pontiac driving on the freeway, pulling into the Beverly Carlton Hotel, as the sign says, and we see the opening shot of the actual hotel room. It's a beautiful room. It's one that we will get to know throughout the episodes that take place in Hollywood. Now, just a little heads up, none of this was actually filmed inside the Brown Derby. None of the episode was filmed inside this hotel room. It was all in the exact same set. In fact, in the same position where we saw the Ricardo's apartment. So it's kind of a nice little fact there. But what makes this episode so exciting? I think there's a lot of elements here. I think the two cameos from two big stars, one man and one woman, of course, Eve Arden and William Holden, really make a big difference in this episode. The entrance with Fred with that flower type Hawaiian shirt is a hilarious part in the episode. We get that dose of silly Fred, of course, that I myself love to see in any I Love Lucy episode, and I hope that you do as well. It's one of those things where Lucy always wants to go to Hollywood and get in on the act and be famous, see celebrities, but of course Ricky says, hey, I have work to do, so you three go do something fun and exciting. So of course they go to the Brown Derby. Now, of course, this was not the real Brown Derby. It was recreated for the show and was pretty much a set that was in front of the entire audience. Pretty cool to know. Even the panels in back with all the actors and actresses were recreated from this episode. I do get that nostalgic feel of being in there with all these stars and the loudspeaker calling, hey, Gregory Peck, and all these famous people. I feel like I'm there, and I think that's what's fun about this episode in particular, that you go along the ride with the Mertzes and of course Lucy, and you feel like you're there with them. You feel that you're in the middle of Hollywood, of all this celebrity action. I think that is exciting in itself. You see the first cameo, of course, of the Hollywood series, and that is of course a surprising cameo by Eve Arden. Wonderful thing, she pretty much acted right next door to this sound stage for the show Our Miss Brooks. She quickly walks off of the screen, and we see Bill Holden come in. Now, this is a big moment because he is pretty much a romantic hunk of a man in that era, the 1950s, and it was a big deal for him to be on this show. It was one of those things where Lucille Ball wanted to elevate her status by having someone as big as Bill Holden on the show. But now, in this era, we know Lucille Ball, and people have mostly forgotten who Bill Holden even is, so it's kind of cool how that switch is there. That shows how powerful Lucille Ball really was. Now, what really makes it silly is the reversal of roles, in my opinion. The fact of Bill Holden, again, being this hunky, romantic man. This is the type of personality he played in most of his roles. And we see him being silly. We see him kind of staring at Lucy, being the funny one, and Lucy being the awkward one. This was very atypical of the personality that he played on screen, and seeing something very different is just funny. It's just on the borderline of hysterical, and I love it each and every time. And of course, something totally unexpected is him making a clown out of himself. The fact of him getting a pie to his face, this was almost below an actor like Bill Holden, but the fact that he was, I guess you can say, one of the first to do this on camera, someone of his stature to have a pie thrown in his face, was something, again, very funny. It showed a bit of humility, and I think it all came together to make a fantastic scene. We see a pretty short clip that is often not seen in syndication. That is Ricky wearing his Don Juan uniform, the steel armor, and it pretty much is a funky outfit. It doesn't even fit him right, but it's great because we see a little bit of banter. And a scene without Lucy and just Desi, and we can really see that Desi does have lots of talent, not only on screen, but also we know off screen. We head back to the Ricardo's hotel room, and I think this unexpected surprise, again, makes us as the audience excited, maybe a little panicked, a little surprised at thinking, what's going to happen? Bill Holden is here, and now Lucy's going to meet him. What's going to happen? Is something chaotic going to happen? Well, of course we know that's going to happen. What exactly? We don't know, of course. Lucy comes out, kind of disguised with this fake putty nose, and that is in itself hilarious. I mean, this whole entire episode has hit us multiple times with funny scenes. It's not really building up to this nose scene. It is funny all throughout, and I think that is one of the gems, one of the reasons why this episode is so great. We see back and forth banter, and I think personally, one of the most underrated moments of this episode is when we see the side profile of Lucy's nose and we see Desi behind her. Desi and Lucy were one of the best comedic teams on television. Of course, Desi being the straight man, meaning that he was the one who had to hold his mouth straight, not laugh, and take Lucy's silliness. It was the playfulness between them that was so amazing. Her being silly, and then Desi behind, of course, playing Ricky, being just amazed at the craziness that was going on before him. His facial expressions are just amazing, and they complement Lucy. I think in the later Lucy show episodes without Desi, we lose a lot of that magic without him. And then we see the climax of the episode, and that is, of course, Bill Holden, quote-unquote, accidentally setting Lucy's nose on fire. I made an entire episode talking about that, whether that was scripted or not. You should take a look at that to know all the details. But basically, her putty nose is lit on fire, and then she extinguishes it. The audience goes up with laughter because, again, it is an unexpected moment. The fact of her having a putty nose was already funny, but the fact that it was lit on fire is something very unexpected. And we see Bill Holden kind of step back. We see Desi step back, of course, as Ricky. And it's just a great overall moment. She reveals that she is, of course, the one who accidentally threw the pie into his face, but Bill Holden takes it like a man, doesn't reveal what happened to Ricky, and of course Lucy ends the episode with a gigantic kiss, which again floors us. We don't expect that, and it is again another moment where this episode just surprises us. It makes us feel so good, and pretty much from start to finish we are excited through this episode. That elevated feeling of excitement of not knowing what happens with the silliness is, I think, what makes this episode so strong. There's very little dull moments, and the pacing is amazing. It's not too fast, it's not too slow, it's just right for what we want to watch, and at the end we want to see more, and that's what you want to have every episode end with that you put on TV. Let me know, guys and gals, what do you think about this episode? What your favorite parts of it were? I would love to see them in the comments. If you want to see more little reviews like this, just let me know what you think and which episode you'd like me to cover. I'd be more than happy to do it. Doesn't have to be in any order. Just let me know what you think. We'll see you next time, guys and gals, and don't forget, be hope.